Hello everybody and welcome to Tiger Tales, a place where you'll find stories and fanfictions written and read to you by your host, me, Tai Tiger. Today, we're diving into a story that I first published many months ago when this channel first started. The first chapter was just something that I thought I'd do, but over the course of the last few months, I've built the story up and I want to carry it on. So we're diving into the world of Walking Dead, where of course this is a new group, a new town, and new dangers. So let's dive in with The Walking Dead, Brothers Bound, Chapter 2, Brothers Reunited. Jake was led into an empty store. Judging by the metal racks piled by the back door, it was originally a clothes store of some kind. Jake was shoved to his knees, his side now pulsing with pain. He shifted so that he was now sat down properly. He looked across from him and saw Hunter, his older brother. The dark-skinned gentleman walked over to the other side of the store where his group had made their camp. The store was relatively big, so the camp was a fair few feet away. "Hey Baz," Jake said. Hunter was also sat on the floor with 3 other men. All 4 of them were tied to metal shelves via zip ties. "Hey Jakey," Hunter grinned. Hunter was Jake's older brother with 3 years between them. When Jake was a young child, he couldn't say Hunter, so he adopted the name Baz for his older brother, and it stuck all these years later. "Got yourself kidnapped, huh?" Jake said mockingly. Says you," Hunter blurted. "You boys might want to shut up. They have guns," one of the other captives said. "It's okay. We got this," Jakey chuckled. "They got all your stuff?" Hunter asked. "Yeah. That guy took it," Jake told him, nodding towards one of the men walking around. "He was a prisoner, I think," Hunter said. "They got a leader?" Jake asked. "Nah, they just argue a lot. Took them a few hours to figure out what to do with us," Jake grinned. "Well, it's kinda smart if a walker comes to one of those windows. We're the first things they're gonna eat," Jake chuckled. Suddenly, the tent swung open and a few guys came out and walked up to Jake. "Your dumbass brother gave us your location," the dark-skinned dude barked. "Yeah, Baz can be a dumbass sometimes," Jake mocked. "How did that happen?" one guy said, pointing to his wound. "Piece of wood stabbed me," Jake explained. "She didn't get bit?" another one anxiously asked. "No, I'm clean of all bites, don't worry," Jake said with a grin. "You think this is funny?" the guy asked. Yeah, kinda. I mean, I love the apocalypse," Jake yelled. All 3 guys walked away shaking their heads as Jake sat there smiling. Then he looked at Hunter. "He is around, right?" Jake asked. "Yeah, that should have worked," Hunter replied. "Yo, you 3 are very quiet," Jake said, looking at the 3 men who were wriggling in their chairs. "So we have been here for 7 days, one of them replied. "Shut up, don't talk to them. We don't know who they are," another barked. "Ignore him. I'm Willie. Mark is the one here, and the one on the other side of Mark, he's the moody sod. That's Ben," the guy told him. "I'm Jake, and this is my brother Hunter." "Hey, listen, Willie, you've got weapons?" Jake asked. "Yeah, but these clowns took them," Willie replied. "They ain't gonna be a problem, but my plan requires us fighting some walkers," Jake explained. "We're fine with that," the one called Mark piped up. "Good," Jake grinned, then made a sharp whistle. Suddenly, a loud barking came from the back of the store, behind the barricaded double doors. "Someone shut up a dog, alright?" a woman called out. "Where did it come from?" another woman moaned as she started walking away. Jake and Hunter looked out the window and saw a small group of walkers walking towards the store. "Great," the one named Ben moaned. "Yo, Ben." "It's okay, I got you," Jake grinned. Jake then whistled again. This time, it was sharper. Then suddenly a scream came from behind the store and a man returned with a huge bite wound in his leg. Blood stained his trousers. "Goddamn fucking stupid little fucking dog," the man called out. "Yeah, we have a slight problem," one girl called out and pointed at the small horde of walkers towards the store. The dark-skinned man returned and pulled out his pistol and walked over to the window. He looked around and then he walked over to his group. "Grab their guns. We can use them," the dark-skinned man barked. The group started rustling through their bags and started pulling out their guns. They checked their ammo clips and started preparing for a fight. They opened the door and started pulling the triggers, shooting down the first line of walkers. There was a small group of people staying by the tent. Jake counted the ones killing the walkers, then the ones by the tent, and only counted 8 people altogether. There was 3 men shooting walkers. Jake whistled one more time. Suddenly, a black and white husky came running up from the side of the building and jumped onto one of the guys, knocking him onto his back. He dropped Jake's pistol, which slid across the floor. Jake then took his shot and leapt forward, rolling across the ground, grabbing his gun. The husky had bit the man into his neck and tore out some flesh, blood spewing from the wound. The man screamed out. The other 2 men aimed their guns, but Jake quickly pulled his trigger and shot both guys down. One directly in the head, and he dropped to the floor. The second one in the leg. He dropped to the floor and screamed out in pain. Jake walked over to the guy and released. It was the dark-skinned man who brought him in. He pulled the trigger anyway, this time aiming for his head, killing the man. Jake walked over and pulled out a knife from one of the corpse's belts. He walked over to Hunter and used the knife to break the zip tie, freeing him. Hunter stood there and hugged his brother. Then Jake winced out in pain. Hunter glared at his brother, then lifted Jake's top to see the sad excuse of surgery on the big wound. "Dude, how the hell?" Hunter snapped. "Not the time, okay? I can handle myself. Don't worry," Jake huffed. Jake handed the knife to Hunter, who untied the 3 men. "Please, let us repay you. Come back to our town. We can get you checked out, give you guys a bed. Hell, we'll even feed your dog," Wooly offered. "Dude, we don't know them," Ben snapped. "And they helped us," Mark intervened. "Thank you, yes, we will follow you. Let us get our stuff," Hunter said. The 5 men collected the guns off the floor and walked over to the big table and collected the rest of their belongings. Willie and Mark picked up broadswords. "Hello, Rita, my love," Willie muttered to the sword and kissed the blade. "Ignore him," Mark chuckled. Jake retrieved his machete and pistol. Hunter had a hunting rifle and a large army knife. Mark had his sword and a pistol. Willie also had his sword and a pistol as well. Ben had a rifle and a small knife. The 5 men all geared up. "What about this lot?" Mark asked. "They kidnapped us," Ben barked, "and we spared them." "But we leave them here," Willie told them. "Was you guys being serious about a place to go?" Hunter asked them. "As serious as that group of walkers," Ben said, pointing to the group of walkers that had now reached the building and tried to squeeze past the door. "We can escape out the back?" Jake asked, holding his wound. "Okay, let's go," Hunter replied. The 5 guys walked up to the barricaded door. Mark and Ben and Willie started moving the shells. Jake took aim and fired his gun, hitting a walker in the head. It dropped to the floor and another walker took its place. The doors swung open. Double doors which led to the hallway. Mark stopped his crew, then pointed to what was the remaining of their captors. "Go, now," Mark barked, and the group ran past them and down the hallway and escaped out the fire exit. "Good thinking, man," Willie said, placing his hand on Mark's shoulder. "We gotta go, like, now," Hunter said. Then the big window smashed due to the force of the walkers trying to reach them. The walkers filled the room rather quick and made their way to the 5 guys. Ben aimed his rifle and started shredding through them. Walkers dropping to the floor, with their heads popping open as the bullets ripped through their undead brains. The rest of the group started gently jogging down the hallway. Apocalypse, the dog, came running up behind them and barged out of the building with Mark and Willie, who aimed their pistols going back to back, facing both ends of the alleyway. Hunter grabbed Jake and pulled his brother's arm around his shoulder, using his own body to hold up his brother, supporting him. Apocalypse ran off and turned around the corner, disappearing from sight. "We need to get him," Jake muttered. "He won't go far, man, you know this," Hunter said. Then Ben emerged out of the building and slammed the door behind him. "We've got a couple of minutes." "If that," Ben said, catching his breath. "Which way?" Hunter asked. Mark and Willie walked to one of the alleyway entrances, both of them holding out their guns tight. They looked left and right. They signalled the other 3 to follow them. The other three followed. Hunter whistled a sharp, short whistle, and Apocalypse came running past them and ran to Willie and Mark. The dog stopped and wagged its tail. Looking up at Mark, Mark bent down and stroked the dog's head for a few times. "I think I am okay," Jake muttered, removing his arm from Hunter's grip. "Are you sure now?" Hunter asked. "Baz, calm the fuck down. I can do this," Jake muttered. "Okay, fine, but you stay by me. No more running off. Last time I agreed to that, we ended up getting split up for several days and being captured by a group of pansies," Hunter snapped. Jake chuckled at his brother, and both of them followed Mark, Willie, and Ben out of the alleyway and down a big road. The road was empty, other than a few old rusty cars. The road bent down into a hill. Willie stopped and pointed to a forest on the outskirts of the city. "See that forest? We've got to get to that. Our town's the other side of that," Willie explained. "How long is that going to take?" Jake asked. "Won't take us long to get to the forest. We stick to the roads. Hour. Tops. Then it's about an hour to get to the town," Ben said to him. Jake nodded, and the 5 men and the dog started walking down the hill. Mark and Willie took turns jogging ahead and checking the turning points on the road, keeping the guns in hand. "Our town is a decent size. Our numbers are in triple digits. We've got a blacksmith, we've got a school, we have a couple of doctors, several gardens, we have plenty of farm life. We got the whole package," Willie explained to Jake and Hunter. "That sounds pretty good, actually," Hunter replied. "We'll get him checked out, and we'll feed the dogs. The kids are gonna love Apocalypse," Willie grinned. "Thank you," Hunter muttered. "How long have you two been just you two?" Mark asked. "We've always been just us two. Since the day this crap happened, we never really found a group we gelled with," Hunter explained. "Okay, I've got to ask this question. How many people have you killed?" Ben asked. "Walkers? Pfft, fuck knows. I think we're in the hundreds, possibly thousands. People, on the other hand, well, we're just 2 dudes. We're easy picking, aren't we? We've had a few drunks, crazy dudes, a couple of rapists, a cannibal or 2 actually. Some crazy cult fucks at one point. We've had our fair share. We've had to defend ourselves," Hunter explained. "It's okay. We ain't gonna judge." Willie smiled and then elbowed Hunter in the arm. Within the hour, they reached the edge of the city and found that was a huge stone steps that led down to the forest had been caved in, leaving a massive ditch, a soft mud waiting at the bottom. The entrance to the forest was only a quick jog away. Willie started climbing down. With a slight shimmy and a hop, he dropped to the ground safely. He handed his bag and weapons. Then Hunter lowered Apocalypse to Willie. He grabbed the big husky and placed him on the ground safely. The dog started running ahead and running around into the soft mud. Hunter dropped down next. Ben turned around and aimed his rifle, keeping an eye out on the city behind them as the rest of the guys climbed down. Mark was next. Then Mark and Hunter used a car that had toppled over and was just laying on the mud to help Jake climb down. Ben then chucked his bag and rifle to Willie and jumped down himself. The men then started walking on the soft mud, their feet slowly sinking into the mud as they took each step. Apocalypse was now covered in mud, his white paws now brown. "Don't worry, we'll get the kids to give him a bath," Willie chuckled. "I think he'd love that," Jake choked. He then slowed down. His face went white, dripping with sweat. He gripped his wound and dropped to his knees. Everyone stopped and Hunter dropped to one knee to reach Jake's level. We gonna have to take a break," Hunter suggested. No, I told you, I'm okay," Jake muttered. Then they saw a couple of walkers climbing out of the forest, tripping over some big roots. Everyone looked in the direction that Jake was. They saw the walkers coming. "Don't use your guns. Go quiet," Hunter hushed. Willie and Mark drew their swords and ran up to the walkers and started stabbing the tip of their blades into the heads of the walkers. Ben pulled out his dagger and ran up to a walker. He grabbed it by its dirty old shirt and pulled it off its feet, dropping it to the ground. He rammed his dagger into the head and it wriggled until it went limp. Jake pulled out his machete, stumbled up to a walker who had managed to get onto the plain of soft mud. It walked up to Jake. Jake sidestepped, dodging the grip of the walker. Then he hit it hard, swinging the machete into the bald center of its head. The walker dropped to the floor. Jake tried to pull his machete from the lifeless corpse. His wound pulse, he dropped to his knees. Pain echoed through his torso. Suddenly the soft mud shifted and a half-decayed walker exploded from the ground, jumped onto Jake, pushing him onto his back. Jake used his forearm against the walker's neck to hold back the walker. The walker snapped his jaw repeatedly. Jake struggled to fend off the walker. His vision started to blur due to the intense pain. Then suddenly a bolt hit the walker dead straight in the face. The walker went lifeless. Jake pushed the lifeless corpse off of him. He climbed to his feet to see a blonde girl loading another bolt into her crossbow. Woody and Mark ran over to the girl whilst killing walkers. Ben and Hunter ran up to Jake. Jake suddenly couldn't hear what anyone was saying. The world started spinning. Jake dropped to the floor unconscious. All Jake could hear was Apocalypse barking. And there we have it, guys. Walking Dead Brothers Bound Chapter 2. Again, I did write the first chapter of this way back when the channel first started. It was one of the first storylines I did that wasn't Power Rangers Future Foundation, so yeah, it's been a little while. I do plan on bringing this back and doing something with it though, as I really enjoy writing The Walking Dead. It's a bit more gory, it's a bit more intense, and it's a bit more grounded. Thank you guys for watching. I want to shout out the 3 Ranger Bros, which is myself, Willie, Cosplay2637, with his 2 podcasts, Power Rangers Universe 19, and Storytime with Cosplay2637, and Mark, the Cornish Ranger, with his podcast, Military Comics. We are in association with Zero to Hero Network, which are the bulk and skull of podcasting, but in Jim, which they talk about different fandoms, and they interview people in all different fandoms. A lot of to do with Power Rangers, to be fair, but they also tackle other stuff as well, and they are a blast to listen to. You should check out everyone I just mentioned. That being said, don't forget to like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and with that, I shall see you guys really soon.